Porter, of course, everyone saw your message on social media last night. Why did you feel at this moment it was important to put something out there like that? And do you think it was ever a distraction for your team during the last month?
Not at all. This was the second time I addressed it. Was I think with you 2 or 3 weeks ago in a question. I answered it then, and I answered it last night in a statement. And so I just want to put it to bed again and focus all my thoughts on our team and beating TCU and playing in this advanced Big 12 tournament and the NCAA tournament. So that's I've addressed it twice now.
Porter, given all the rumors yesterday, did you have to reiterate to your guys your commitment? I'm sure, they're online as much as anybody, and they probably saw that as well. I'm just wondering if you had a message for them.
Yeah, it was very simple. It's all false. It's all fake. I mean, they know me. They know how absolutely I'm locked into here. So it got to the point where it was so much on social media, and I addressed it. This is the second time I've addressed it now. So I'm not going to address it anymore. I told them that, and they just, we're all full steam ahead on trying to compete and prepare for TCU.
Is the timing especially frustrated given how?
I'm not going to answer anymore. Let's talk about TCU. I've literally addressed it twice, and I've been asking questions here. And I don't know how many more times I got to address it.
Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, Bob Prisbillo, straight out of a Zoom session with Porter Moser from Kansas City. Oklahoma opening up the Big 12 tournament on Wednesday, 2 o'clock, TCU. Welcome back into the Hoops Report here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube page. Really good time to be joining SoonerScoop.com just overall. It is extremely busy with the women's basketball team headed up to the NCAA tournament after a little bit of a disappointing performance on Tuesday. But Soonerscoop.com, spring ball special, $1 for the first month at Soonerscoop.com. And obviously softball, you're headed over to a softball game tonight. Tarleton State in town for a doubleheader. I'll be headed over to Eldell Mitchell Ballpark for a Bedlam edition. 5 games this week for the OU baseball team. Kind of weird. I guess softball will have 5 games as well with the doubleheader tonight. So really, certainly some interesting stuff from Porter Moser. Interesting on the hoops beat here over the last 48, 72 hours, because the story that just wouldn't leave anybody alone, including that man, Porter Moser, the DePaul situation, it reached a point on Monday night, Bob, where Porter obviously put out the statement. It was pretty emphatic about his, his stance on all the rumors that have been out there with the DePaul. So just kind of overall your take on everything that's going into what is out there now. It certainly doesn't seem like Porter Moser is going to be going anywhere.
Yeah, it was just kind of crazy because we did ask Porter about this last month. I asked him the question and he shut it down. And instead of it going away, it actually picked up more intensity in the last couple weeks until we saw the anonymous account called Coaching Changes that's not run by an actual person that's willing to put their name out.
Right.
So that makes a
real
little,
son of a bitch.
A little tricky. That's your term. A little tricky.
Yeah.
Is my term, and where they felt very confident that they're just ready to say he is DePaul's next head coach. And I saw it Sunday night. I'm not blind to it.
Sure.
I'm not naive. I wasn't dismissing it, but I was like, okay, I'll go back to work Monday. And as everything I kept hearing Monday, I was like, there's no truth to this. I know it keeps being put out there, and sometimes they're hedging and sometimes they're doubling down. I have nothing that actually says that's part of this is going to be fact, and that Porter will be leaving OU to go to DePaul. And, obviously it worked up to a certain level. The Porter was just fed up with it. Happened at the team dinner of all places Monday, where he just announced, that's it. I'm done. Stop asking. I'm fed up. I'm not going to DePaul. I love OU.
I mean, it certainly has to be a situation, too, that it keeps coming back up because of the connections back to Chicago. Absolutely. If this was anywhere else in the country, it would hit a little bit differently, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because it's just like last year. Notre Dame.
Sure.
A Chicago Catholic kid.
Yeah.
Being someone that lived in Chicago. Notre Dame is the Chicago school.
Sure.
Not Northwestern, not DePaul. It is Notre Dame. So
Chris Collins might have something to say about that, Bob.
That's why that one made so much sense last
Right.
year, and that's why This one made a little bit of sense just because it's a basketball only school. Maybe that's what he enjoyed at Loyola. There's a lot of people projecting their own feelings as to what Porter should be feeling compared to actually listening to what Porter has been saying ever since he's arrived in Norman.
I wonder if that's a little bit of the kind of PTSD from the Lincoln Riley experience, too. I think that there's a lot of people that don't really necessarily trust a whole lot of people at their word.
And because, honestly, the way the team has played the last month, I think some people have seen a correlation and said, well, Porter's 1 foot out the door, and now this team doesn't look like they are running an offense or they know what what they're doing. And maybe I could get around to that, but ever since all the DePaul talk has started, they've also whipped BYU. They swept Bedlam, and they have found a way to win like a game against Cincinnati that we just know they never would have done in the past. So I haven't been able to get fully on board with that. But yeah, it's been a strange and interesting month, and I just think he wanted to put it out there because now it's like it's Big 12 tournament time. It's NCAA tournament time. I need everyone locked in, laser focused on what is ahead.
Obviously, good news that that's kind of now cleared up. I think it's kind of a dead issue now. Like I don't see us having to revisit that. Particularly with the DePaul situation.
Not DePaul. We might. Hey, there's going to be other jobs.
Sure, there's going to be other jobs, and there's going to be better jobs than Oklahoma that maybe court Porter Moser. But overall, like we've said on this program multiple times here over the last month, I see this as a positive this season. This has been a step in the right direction. And by the way, Oklahoma does have a game on Wednesday afternoon against TCU. The one time that they played them this year, 80-71. It was not much of it wasn't very competitive.
It's a bad second half.
Sure.
Tight first half, bad second half. Something we've seen a lot. We saw it in Waco against Baylor. We saw it last Saturday. We won't talk a lot about that Texas game. Not much to talk about. Right. Saw it last Saturday against Texas where they're there for the most part in the first half, and then the first 5 minutes, second half, one team makes a run, and sometimes they don't have it in them. Usually it's on the road. So here we'll see with a neutral site if that looks different. And, man, you almost couldn't go further apart from playing. This is the second conference game. They didn't play twice. They didn't play in Norman. It's like these teams look just completely different. They both probably, you would say, didn't have the type of conference years that they were hoping for.
No doubt about TCU. I have no idea. I said it every morning. It's like I have no idea what's happened to this team that I kind of fell in love with all the veteran backcourt play. They had a bunch of guys that have been around the block a lot. I don't know. Jamie Dixon, certainly, we'll see him up close for the first time, or not the first time, but on Wednesday in the Big 12 tournament. All right, now some bad news. Some really, really bad news. Oklahoma will be without Rivaldo Suarez as well as John Hughley. They've been out without John Hughley for about the last month. Rivaldo Suarez, if there's anything to take out of the Texas game down in Austin, it's him getting hurt in the last 5 minutes, re-aggravating that ankle injury.
Yeah, about 3:13 is when it was stopped, and you could hear him scream in pain. I'm actually typing. I'm typing away. It's like, oh, they tried hard, but second half they fell apart. And then I hear the scream. I was like, what is going on? Like, oh, no.
Not good.
It happened again.
Yeah, and after happening again last Tuesday against Cincinnati.
It's just something like he's got that warrior spirit, but that's kind of hurting. And I know Porter kind of laughed it off today when he was asked, like, would you just hold him out on purpose?
Right.
And Suarez, obviously.
We had that conversation last week about going down to Austin.
He would never, ever want to do that, but it's going to be interesting to see how fast he can heal, because what Porter stressed in the Zoom today was that Suarez and Hughley will miss Wednesday. I think we all agree it's probably the entire week, no matter how long. But he wanted to say it was just Wednesday, and then it would go day by day if OU were to keep winning and advancing. And I think we all know it's just imperative to get them back for next week. And then there's going to be some fans that are saying, are you counting your chickens before they hatch?
Right.
To say that they're already in the tournament.
Let's get to Porter Moser here, talking about the injury situation going into the Big 12 tournament in Kansas City. And we'll come back and we'll talk about everything else that kind of is out there in terms of what Oklahoma needs or needs to happen over the next couple of days before Selection Sunday.
So I know there'll be questions about our personnel and injuries, so I'll just come out and say John Hughley and Rivaldo Suarez will not be available to play against TCU tomorrow.
Porter, you clearly want to stay healthy, but what have the injuries to Javion and John and Waldo showed you about this team that maybe you wouldn't have known otherwise?
Yeah, for us, we stayed healthy almost the whole year, and all of a sudden, 7 games ago, it's been a number of them. So we got to fight through it. I really believe that everyone's going to be back and healthy within a week for the NCAA tournament. So that's the good news. Right now, we're banged up for the Big 12 tournament, but it's shown me this resiliency. Resiliency. I was just thinking about it the other day. Kansas was fully. They were at their full roster. We played them here, and they got us. We competed, and Rivaldo and John were both missing that game. Then we lose Javion, and then Rivaldo's missed some more. And John hasn't been back, but he's close. John's very close. He just won't be available tomorrow.
So that's the situation. You look at some of the stuff that Lenardi's come out with bracketology. It's kind of a win and you're in type game for both Oklahoma and TCU. I think that the best way to say it, Bob, would be you need to find a way to win on Wednesday, and you probably sleep a little bit better over the next couple days, regardless of what you do the rest of the weekend. It could be kind of uneasy if you start looking and some of the mid-major stuff.
Exactly.
Somebody like a Texas A&M winning the SEC, just hypothetically,
right.
That would be kind of terrifying news for Oklahoma.
Or Kevin Kruger making a run.
UNLV making a run in the Mountain West.
With the Rebels.
Right?
Yeah.
And it very well could happen. You're playing on your home court out there in the Mountain West.
Yeah, I think we all believe they're in, and we all believe right now they're in that 8-9 bubble. Maybe if they lose Wednesday, they drop to a 10 seed, but I still don't think they would be among the last 4 in and would have to play that midweek game next week. But that would be dependent on the bubble not like shrink. You can't have those teams take spots that you thought were going to go to other teams. So the way the bubble works, we'll just kind of find out. I still
kind of hold your breath with some of the mid-major stuff with a one bid league. Like, you just want the favorite to win, get it out of the way. Especially, the Indiana State thing is really kind of interesting. What ends up happening to them because they didn't win the Missouri Valley.
Exactly. That would be one of those is like, if it doesn't go chalk, this could be trouble for a lot of different teams. Still don't think OU's in that position just because I go back to the resume of some of the bubble teams. I look at what Central Florida did late. OU now, every single loss is a quad 1.
Yeah.
That's
good news there.
That should hold some weight.
Sure.
No losses in quad 2, 3, or 4. And they've got 4 quad 1 wins, and I believe 4 or 5 quad 2 wins. Like, that should be more than enough to get the job done.
It's kind of interesting, too, because, a team that might be playing some of the best basketball in the country right now, it might be a little too late for them. They're going to have to win the Pac-12 tournament, but USC is starting to come on. Yep. And I don't think it's crazy to think that they could win the Pac-12 tournament, and then all of a sudden it's like, do you want to cheer for USC to make that win a little bit better, or do you want to just get beat on Wednesday and get out of there and not have to worry about somebody stealing a bid? But it is going to be interesting. Oklahoma is playing TCU, as we discussed here at the beginning, and it was transition defense that really hurt Oklahoma the first time around.
Yeah, it's been an issue at times throughout the course of this season. It's weird because they'll focus on one thing, and it feels like they focus on this one thing for that game, and then maybe forget about the next, whether it's turnovers, whether it's rebounding, whether it's fast break defense. So we'll see if they can put it all together. The Frogs, they fell to the spot. We all said last week, it's OU Texas again.
Didn't even cross my mind that Central Florida was going to go to Fort Worth and not only win, but kind of do it handedly. Like, TCU had to battle back just to get into the game.
And so now they fall into the 8 seed. So 2 teams that, backs against the wall, is something we've said time and time again, but just haven't played at the level that perhaps they thought they would, especially during the last month of the season.
Here is Porter Moser talking about the matchup with TCU.
They're as good as transition team in the country. The amount of points they score in transition and then rebounding. They're so physical. They're very old, experienced. A lot of guys that were in the NCAA tournament last year. They got a ton of pieces, and they're fully healthy back, getting Uda back. Gives them a bunch of guys inside that keep rotating through. Their guards are terrific. But you got to be ready for their physicality and the pace they play with. They just, their transition just is unmatched. How fast it goes. And then they crash the glass. So, we played them the second conference game of the year. They got us there at their place. We know we got to be better physically, rebounding it. I think that's going to be that transition defense. I mean, that's what we got to learn from the Texas game. Our transition defense wasn't great against Texas, and we really got to get back and set that transition defense against TCU.
Talk about the difference a couple months make. That TCU team was 12-3, 1-1 at the time. And, far from what they have been. Emmanuel Miller still leading the team with 16 points per game. Avery Anderson seems like has always given Oklahoma problems, whether it be at Oklahoma State or now with TCU. They got the work cut out for them. They have been able to win a game shorthanded before. You'd think back to the Cincinnati game. I know that a lot of Oklahoma fans probably don't want to think about that, but they were
Just
able
remember overtime.
There were some good moments down the stretch, maybe against the Cincinnati team that, obviously they opened with a win in Kansas City today, had to do it coming from behind. Oklahoma State basically didn't show up in the second half. It's going to be imperative, though, that you get some good shooting. JV McCollum went 5 for 9 the first time around, 17 points. He's going to have to show up. Like, you start thinking about and how good Rivaldo Suarez has been for this team over the last month and a half. Where are the points going to come from on Wednesday?
I guess the only positive you say he was a no-show in Fort Worth. So
technically true. He played 22 minutes, but he just had 3 points.
Exactly. So maybe, but no. With McCollum, you hope that shoulder is okay. That is actually one of the more surprising answers this afternoon, is that Porter didn't just flat out say Javion is completely okay.
Right.
He had some soreness Sunday, and it's the free range of motion. He played Saturday, didn't feel like extended minutes once the game got out of control. 6 points, couple of assists. They need him. They need Los to be who what OU needs them to be in order to try to make any sort of run.
And the good news on top of that is Los Uzon followed maybe one of the worst games of his career last week against Cincinnati with much better performance, a bounce back, if you will, going 5 for 10 from the floor, 12 points on the day, just the one turnover, 7 assists. He was really good on Saturday.
Exactly. For a second half that probably wasn't worth watching in Austin, Los played very, very well. They needed that. He needed that, because we still have no clue what the heck happened against Cincinnati. But if you can build off of that, which we've said time and time again with a lot of these guys, just trying to build off of that. And it's been a struggle the entire season. You just don't know what you get from one game to the next.
Oklahoma, the 9 seed going into the Big 12 tournament, 20-11, 8-10 overall. You still feel pretty good about everything moving into the NCAA tournament, and we'll all find out together on Sunday. Depending on how the week goes for Oklahoma, obviously, it's going to be interesting. I think OU and TCU probably have their work cut out for them in the Big 12 tournament with Houston right around the corner.
Exactly. So you're looking at this one, just get this one.
Find a way.
Worry about Houston
a half-point
later.
win. Take a half-point win.
Try to get through this one, and you will absolutely rest easy on Sunday. It has been interesting to me that TCU seems to be in more of a dire position than OU, according to most, despite TCU just, beating up the Sooners pretty good the first time around. And now you look at Cincinnati, who's going to play an undermanned Kansas team.
It's incredible.
They could make a little bit of a run.
Yeah. I mean, they really have an opportunity there. I think anybody on that bottom side of the bracket, you have a great opportunity with a Kansas team that, is kind of unusual that they're going to be playing on the second day of the Big 12 tournament, or the first real day is what I would consider it. That thing with Hunter Dickinson and Kevin McCullough it's kind of scary. They don't have a lot of bodies. They simply don't have a lot of bodies.
They don't. And so the Bearcats can make a run. Get into
Kansas State's another team that needs a really good week in Kansas City.
And then that helps. And that's what we're saying about OU. And I go back to the resume. You won in Manhattan.
Sure.
You won in Cincinnati.
Sure.
You should get the bump against either one of those two teams, no matter what happens throughout the course of this weekend. And that's why I think Porter's still not politicking whatsoever.
The tone is much different than what it has been over the last 2 years.
Even the way, as you heard in that clip, the way he described it, like, okay, we'll sit them out, but we believe that they'll both be ready for the NCAA tournament. It's not like if we make it. It's like we're playing in it. We want both of these guys to be ready for it.
No doubt about it. The state championships here in the state of Oklahoma have wrapped up, and Dayton Forsyth simply has closed out one of the more remarkable careers for the Dale Pirate. They win the third straight state championship. He had 35 in the state championship game against Pecola. And, there's a lot of intrigue just in terms of what he's going to bring to the program next year.
Yeah, I mean, he's someone that just got better with every single year. we all know his breakout was the Tournament of Champions event in Tulsa in his junior season.
Right.
And then all the offers started flowing. And then, like he dreamed of being a Sooner and he signed with OU. And you wondered how that would affect him throughout the course of this season. And he was just brilliant again and saved maybe his finest moment for his final one. He was sensational throughout the course of this weekend. And that was one thing, when you got all the DePaul rumors and stuff, Porter Moser came back from Austin to go to State Fair Arena and watch Dayton Forsyth play Saturday night.
Maybe looking back on it, hindsight is always, I guess, 2020. But that should have been one of the first indicators that it looks like he's staying put. You asked him about Dayton Forsyth and just kind of him joining the Oklahoma program now with his high school career over. And here's what Porter had to say.
Dayton Forsyth just ended his high school career with his third straight high school championship. What's it been like watching him evolve and get better with every single year?
Just, the pressure on him to keep doing it, to win 3 straight, I went to one of the games there, and then just winners win. And that's what we talked about him with. I talked to him after the championship and just said, enjoy it. You had to fight the pressure of three-peating and come back. But that's why I'm so excited to have him in our program, because he's wired with that winning DNA. And that's why I'm so excited to coach him. And we talked about it, and, with him, and when he gets here, and just that winning DNA is in him. And it meant so much to him to win. And that's what I loved about him in the recruiting process, and why we wanted to have him here at the University of Oklahoma. And so happy for him and all the guys there. And just a great feat.
Dale, one of the better basketball programs in the state of Oklahoma. I'm sure there's a lot of people that aren't familiar with Dale, Oklahoma, but they have been excellent. And the Forsyth family has a big part of it. He has a younger brother as well that's a junior this year, I believe.
He does. And, they've been able to show that in these tournaments where they play like 5A, 6A teams.
Sure.
They belong at that level. I know people say,
it's kind of crazy.
It's 2A. It's not.
Yeah.
But if they get a chance to play against the big boys, they bring it.
No doubt about it. Oklahoma football commit Jaden Nickens also wins a state championship with Douglas. He had kind of a winding path starting at Millwood, played football at Millwood, and then obviously
wins the state championship at Millwood.
And then wins a state championship coming back. They were down like 20 to Weatherford, too, I believe, in the first half. So good win. All right, that's going to do it here on the SoonerScoop.com Hoops Report. The Big 12 basketball tournament beginning on, in reality, I guess we should say, when it started on Tuesday, but when you view this, Oklahoma, 2 o'clock T-Mobile Center, and we'll see. You get a win, I think you feel pretty confident about, you can start booking hotel rooms. I don't know where you're going, but you can start thinking about booking hotel rooms if you win on Wednesday. I still think that they probably get in if they don't win on Wednesday, but maybe you don't sleep as well over the next couple of nights going into Selection Sunday.
I do wonder if the committee takes into account the injuries. I don't know if that would be a real thing, but the last month has
I think
just
a season-ending injury they probably would, but maybe
mash
this
moment here with Hughley, Soares, McCollum, all at different points, some at the same time. It's been a rough 7-game stretch.
Yeah, it's been a rough month, and they were so good about not having any injuries going into it. It's just I don't know, kind of luck at this time of the year, but hopefully you get them back for the NCAA tournament. So for Bob Przybylo, I'm Eddie Radosevich. We'll see you right back here, hopefully talking about an NCAA tournament next week on the Hoops Report. We'll see you right back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.